Demonic presence at unsafe levels. Lockdown in effect.
Rejoice, Doom Marines, for the gates of hell have been cast open, and the time of demons is nigh. That means but one thing. It is time to rip and tear through the cracked obsidian foundations that have spewed forth abominations and deeper still into the very fabric that binds them, to find the inception point of such foul creation. Armed with your chainsaw, locked in your praetor suit, and with nothing but fiery rancor running through your veins, it is time to know your enemy better than you have ever needed to before. Oh, I don't know what came over me there. What I mean to say is that they concocted a brand new monster manual for you guys based on the illustrious Doom series itself, spraying blood and viscera in an endless stream of carnage to hunt the very strangest sacks of twisted flesh you can take down in the franchise. Looking at what inspired the minions of hell in all their repugnant glory, there are plenty of parallels drawn between lore and the real world. So let's crack open these atrocities down the middle and see how they came to be, shall we? It's time to raise hell. I am the Doomslayer Ash from WhatCulture Gaming, and these are the 8 weirdest Doom enemies and what they represent. 8. Imp. Imps are the most common enemy you'll come across in the Doom franchise, cropping up in almost every entry across the canon. Throwing fiery projectiles and flitting about the map, they were designed as the troops of hell, the backbone of their forces that will harass you at every turn. No bother, they chop up just as easily as anything when you take a chainsaw to them. So what brought about the inception of the Imp? Well, like everything in Doom, it all started with a game of Dungeons & Dragons. John Romero has said of their campaign, and I quote, "I got greedy trying to procure a magic sword and caused the entire world to be overrun by demons. Something just clicked." Much like in mythological belief that imps are minions of the devil and practical jokers craving attention, in Dungeons & Dragons, imps are lawful evil tiny fiends that have wings, can shapeshift and turn invisible, with the latter nicely linking to the Doom Imp's ability to quickly travel across the map. It feels like a natural step that the enemy's implementation, get it, could have been from D&D, especially when you consider the original design of the imp was meant to be a winged demon itself too. 7. Sabbath. One of the bosses appearing in Doom 3, Sabbath is a hellishly transformed Sergeant Kelly, a humanoid man atop a tank with the two grotesquely fused to one another. So, by that logic, Sergeant Kelly is the quite literal definition of a tank after his transformation. A hulking, formidable foe that charges in and functions as a bullet sponge. Even his later name, Sabbath, is a spin on his military prowess, translated from Hebrew to mean armies or hosts. Usually, Sabbath as a word is used to precede a reference to God, implying God as a ruler of the armies of earth and heaven. But of course, we're looking a little further south when it comes to Doom and its hellspawn. Interestingly, Sabbath is also referenced in Gnosticism, defined as a chief ruling archon of one of the 7 heavens. He's connected to the creators of the material world, has a spiritual association to the planet Mars, of course, and represents the forces of duality for turning his back on his father and ascending to a higher plane. This origin is taken and corrupted then, seen most clearly by Sarge's transformation into a strengthened hell abomination instead of a heavenly ruler in Doom 3. 6. Mancubus. The wonderfully titled Mancubus is not so wonderful in appearance, featuring across the Doom series as a giant, blobby, sagging sack of flesh that moves slowly but devastatingly across the map. Most notably, its arms have been melded into projectile barrels that double up as flamethrowers. Now, there is a reason I laud their name, because this seems to be the root of their visual character design. Both mythological creatures, the succubus and the incubus, make up the bulk of its title, originally perceived as frightening, seductive, demonic entities that invaded people's dreams to have sex with them. While the mancubus isn't out shagging in Doom, it is nightmarish to behold, so that much feels about right. There's also arquebus, the obsolete word for arquebus, that defines a range of weaponry, which the mancubus definitely embodies. As for the prefix man, in Latin the word root is related to hand, which makes sense for the guy's modified arms. Then we've got Maledicte, which is Latin for eating and chewing, which is self-explanatory for the mancubus's larger frame. But really, whilst its name gives us some lovely clues to its creation, Gregor Punchatz, the artist hired to design the mancubus, has actually stated previously that the creature was most inspired by the B-movie The Day the Time Ended's many-nippled monster. Well, there you go then. At least the sexy bit ties in a bit better now. 5. Maledicte. A demonic reincarnation of Dr. Malcolm Betruger, the Maledicte is some horrible winged beastie that bears Malcolm's face in the body of a monster. Blackened and twisted from the transformation into one of Hell's most ghastly creatures that is somewhat reminiscent of the xenomorph from Alien. And we're back at it again with the Latin for this one, as Maledictus literally means cursed, as Harry Potter fans might have already known. It's a branch of Maledicto, which translates to evil speech, a nice play on Malcolm's role throughout the games. Looking to Hell, the Maledicte's appearance seems to be inspired by tales of the demon Boon or Boone, as described in the Lesser Key of Solomon. Boone is described as a three-headed dragon, and whilst the Maledicte is short on one of those, he does fit the rest of the bill nicely. He also has the ability to change the places of the dead, which seems to match Betruger's intentions in Doom 3 of bringing reinforcements to Mars for invading Earth and bringing the dead to the world of the living, as well as Betruger's supernatural ability to turn Marines into zombie commandos. Boone is noted for his lovely voice too, another solidifying fact considering Malcolm's persuasive ways, and his appearance out of the Maledicte when it needs to talk. 4. Arachnotron. It's a giant spider with a big old brain attached. What's not to like? Whilst the spider part isn't technically right, since it doesn't actually have 8 legs in any of its incarnations across the series, it is still one creepy looking horror show. Plus, the whole arachnid deal ties nicely into scorpions too, which seems far more likely as an inspiration point looking at Doom Eternal's placement of the cannon on top of its head like a big old stinging tail. The name roughly means spider instrument, rather appropriate considering the manual entry from Doom 2 implies they've been created by demons using cybernetics, a tool for their armies rather than something naturally occurring in Hell. Replacing spinning webs with wanton destruction, these versions of spiders mirror our own creepy crawly friends in real life, that often grow brains so big they take up 80% of the space inside their body. In essence though, these creatures seem pleased enough to reflect our natural fear of insects in their creation, an embodiment of spidery beings made impossibly massive to terrify any Doom players that have even a shadow of fear in their hearts. Impossible, I know, but hey, at least Doom gives you an option to absolutely savage the spiders you are definitely not afraid of, right? The ultimate glorious battle catharsis comes from killing bugs you don't have to feel guilty about afterwards. 3. Whiplash. One of Doom Eternal's new additions to the monster canon is Whiplash, a slithering female demon that has been designed to take your eyes off the massive demon's center screen in a battle as she drops to the floor and draws fire. Composed of cybernetics that give her a snake-like body and tail, Whiplash feels like the demon's own iteration of Medusa. Medusa is a woman with snakes for hair whose gaze turns men to stone. Whiplash takes on these snake qualities, much like the Clash of the Titans movies, and imbues them straight into her body. And whilst her stare doesn't instantly petrify the Doom Marine, taking away your attention so the other demons can deal more damage as you're distracted is a nice parallel to her deadly vision of myth. Looking to other popular media, Doom has taken inspiration from metal bands for its creation for years, with Metallica, Slayer and Pantera making the cut for iconic soundtrack vibes. Is it so much of a stretch to say they took a visual cue from metal too then? A Redditor pointed out that Whiplash looks a hell of a lot like the cover art on Dio's Holy Diver, from the red eyes to the silhouette, right down to the whip chain that the demon wields where she gets her name. 2. Cacodemon. There is no way we can look at the Cacodemon and not come full circle all the way back to Dungeons & Dragons again, as there is nothing that screams Beholder quite like these giant floating heads from Hell. Beholders are the staple of D&D monster manuals, defined by their one giant eye and a big old gaping maw, and have appeared in every edition of the game for over a quarter of a century. So it makes sense that the devs wanted one for themselves, especially considering their inception point for creating the game in the first place. Interestingly, however, as much as Cacodemons feel like this loving homage to Beholders in particular, their Dungeons & Dragons origins are defined as much by another monster, the Astral Dreadnought. Appearing on the front cover of the Manual of Planes, Doom's Cacodemons are a cropped version of this behemoth down to just its head, clearly inspired by the giant monster's toothy grin and single eye. Game designer John Romero has also said that the creature was inspired by H.R. Giger's Necronomicon, which was kept open on artists' desks to get that hellish mood just right across the board. All in all, its representation is a love letter to the sources that made the game possible in the first place. 1. Summoner. Perhaps one of the most distinctive enemies of Doom 2016 is the Summoner, essentially functioning in the same way as the Archvile of games past. Taking the humanoid, emaciated body and spinning it with a whole new look, the summoner boasts a fan-like head and decorative bony deposits all over its fleshy body, giving it an all-round softer, more feminine look than the hulking wads of meat throughout the rest of the hordes of hell. This was entirely intentional, with animator Kim Jun-young describing how he took inspiration from middle-aged dresses from wealthy women, a symbol of the summoner's higher status in hell. The summoner also bears resemblance to the Angel of Death from Hellboy 2, bringing in a touch of Guillermo del Toro to Doom's world. The Angel of Death has a similar fan-shaped bone structure on its head and is also missing eyes, perhaps a reference to the iconic blindfold of Lady Justice. If you think about it, the summoner rebalances the battle in the same way Lady Justice is associated with the scales, by bringing in new legions of demons, akin to the sword she bears, so the poor Hellspawn have a chance against the Doom Marines' waves of destruction. And that's our list. What other monsters do you want to see explored? Did you like this monster manual? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. I've been Ash, and this has been WhatCulture Gaming. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and come back again soon for some more data log diving content. Thanks for watching.